I think the jury could have used myself or someone like myself that knows about this world and how this world operates. And I think the jury would have better understood the dynamics of a lot that's going on. Me, I know all about it, pretty much.
You live the nightlife, yeah.
Yeah, so I know.
You work in the nightlife.
I work in the nightlife, so I know. The jury would have understood in this world that Diddy's in, how things become transactional.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
How entertainment becomes into finances, how creek-offs become home guarantees, or people start to make out because they're with someone, how they're getting paid, how they show up, what is behind them meeting these type of people. The jury would have better understood, and then they would have had a better perspective that said, wait a minute, and he possibly, I'm not saying he would have, possibly would have got acquitted of those other lesser charges too.
Listen, I understand the things that Cassie went through. I'm pretty sure it was something that was horrific at times. But you have text messages that said she loved the free coughs. I can't wait to have another free cough. And there were text messages and maybe, oh, not tonight. Another thing with the Jane Doe, 50's baby mother, with things like, oh, he was, if I didn't, do these free coughs, he would stop paying my $10,000 a condominium. I can't really feel bad about that, and it doesn't sound like coercion. And in a private, during a conversation you and I had, and I think you put it really well, and you told me the reason why they should have had someone like you testify and make the jury understand this sort of like lifestyle, because it seemed like Puff was just straight up sugar daddy to these females.
And listen, that goes on in this business. It's not just Diddy. It's a lot of people, rich people, people that are affluent, entertainers, basketball players, athletes, whatever. They have money, and there are people that take care of women, that have women that they take care of. Strippers. I see these women as sometimes independent contractors. What I mean by that is that they show up to these events and these parties specifically looking for men that they can hook up with. Look, there was an actress that said, I make $26 million. I'm worth $26 million or something, and I can't date a man who makes less than that. And she's right. She's not wrong. A guy like me, I couldn't date. I'm not even in the stratosphere. So she has to get somebody who's a little bit bigger than she is. But there are a lot of women out here that are very dependent on men to take care of them. And in this particular case, that was pretty evident, because the jury saw that these women were being paid, they were being taken care of. And, this is what happens. And that's what happens in this industry. Women are being taken care of, paying their rent, paying for them to live. And look, I think Jane said she was getting, what, $10,000 a month? A love contract?
Yeah.
Right? That was brought out in the trial. It's hard to, not to do things that he wanted to do when somebody's taking care of you. But again, he's only one person. There's so many people out here that are doing that with women. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not like that. I can't afford to take care of women like that.
right.
I ain't rich like that. But don't get me wrong. I've met women that when you go on dates, social media is full of it.
Right.
Hey, you want to go out with me? You got to do my nails, take me out to dinner. You got to do this. Wait, I just met you. And right away, you're giving me a bill. Right. And I haven't even slept with you yet. But this is what's going on in society right now. It's not just in that. It's all over I shouldn't say every woman. Yeah. But the majority of the people that are on social media are all saying this about, if a man wants to be with me, he can't be broke. And it's not just one person. There's so many interviews and people that are just going out and saying this. This is why it's hard to date. Nowadays, right? Because, guys think that a lot of women are gold diggers. Right. And a lot of men are starting to travel outside the country to meet girls in other countries. Right. And you know that, the passport boys, they go away and they meet other girls and they go out. But I think in the trial, I think his attorney should have brought out a little bit more about what women do and what the people like Diddy. If he possibly brought that out about transporting them, how they're getting paid, how they show up, what is behind them meeting these type of people, the jury would have better understood. And then they would have had a better perspective that said, wait a minute, you know? And he possibly, I'm not saying he would have, possibly would have got acquitted of those other lesser charges too. If the jury believed that, if they said, look, you know, this makes a lot of sense about what this person's saying. So do we want to charge him with something, convict him of something, when the whole world is doing it, half the world is doing that? You see where I'm going with this?
Right.
And it's not just him, it's other people.
Right.
And if you really want to come down, you might as well come down on everybody.
Exactly.
Because it's being done.
It's done every day.
And I hate to say it, but in these cases that you see today with these women and these guys that get with girls, they start this. They start taking care of them, paying for them. And it's hard to leave a lifestyle that you're accustomed to.
Right.
If you're in a nice apartment and you're driving a Mercedes and you got money in the bank and you're going to all these special dinners and best restaurants and traveling, why would you want to give that up?
Right.
If somebody takes that away from you, what are you going to do? You're going to fight them.
Some people go crazy.
I'm going to fight you. I'm going to take you to court.
Right.
Why? You're not my girlfriend. Yeah, but I'm going to say you, or I'm going to say we had an agreement, or I'm going to get a lawyer and go after you.
Civilly.
And that's prevalent right now, prevalent with everything that's going on. So these are the things that happen. But I think if the jury understood basically how things work in the entertainment world, not just the hip hop world, but in the world in general, they might have said, wow, we have a better understanding of this. The freak-offs at one time used to be called jump-offs.
Right, right.
They weren't be called freak-offs, they were called jump-offs.
And these things were happening in the Playboy Mansion.
And, Playboy Mansion, private parties. You know, back in the days, guys had parties like that all the time.
Right.
Where girls would just come out and there was some beautiful women, man, that, I'm being honest, they would attend these parties. And I mean, you would say, holy cow, look at this woman here. She's hot, she's gorgeous. But they would come in for and some of these women at some of these jump-offs, consensual, right, would meet guys, and guys would marry them. I'm gonna marry her, I'm gonna take care of her for the rest of my life.
Right.
You might, out of percentage, you might have had, out of 100 girls, 10 girls, and that's a small percentage, but 10 girls might have got taken care of. Even in the strip clubs, when guys go into these strip clubs today, and I don't see a couple girls that I used to know, hey, what happened to so-and-so? Oh, she met this doctor. He said he's taking her out of here. She married him and had kids.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Those guys fall in love with those type of women all the time.
All the time. Listen, I have a friend who's like that. He goes after girls all the time. But that's his thing. That's what he likes to do. I mean, I talk to him and tell him, because I used to be stupid years ago when I was young. Yeah. But I tell him the same things, but he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to me at all. Right. Because he has an addiction. That's his thing. Right. He loves these type of girls because he can go out, right. He picks the nice, hot girls, but he does pay by the nose.
Yeah.
You know, he does it all the time, but it's his life.
Right.
What am I going to tell him to do? He's listen, we not listen, whatever. But it is the way things are right now. And I think the jury would have understood in this world that Diddy's in, how things become transactional.
Right, right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
How entertainment becomes into finances, how creek-offs become home guarantees, or, you know, people start to make out because they're with someone. How many women you know that hooked up with guys that are well off? Right. One guy told me years ago, and I listened to the story, he said, never give a woman money because she'll leave you. If you keep giving her money, she'll make enough of it from you where she could open her own business and move on. And I know a woman, he told me about a story about a woman that did that. She opened up a beauty salon and left a guy who took care of her. He started her, got her all hooked up. I think the jury could have used myself or someone like myself that knows about this world and how this world operates. And I think the jury would have better understood the dynamics of it. And it would have provided them with some kind of insight.
Right.
Where they would have said, wow. Because remember, I don't think these people in the jury knew about, look, Diddy's lifestyle and these freak-offs. I'm sure these jurors, they learned a whole big thing now about freak-offs.
And it definitely didn't come from that lifestyle.
No.
These are middle-aged or older folks that probably this is something new to them.
Right. And this trial probably taught the world a lot that's going on. Me, I know all about it. Right. Pretty much.
You live the nightlife, yeah.
Yeah, so I know.
You work in the nightlife.
I work in the nightlife, so I know. But It is what it is. But you know what's so interesting about Diddy's case? There was a case involving the CEOs of Abercrombie and Fitch.
Right.
I think we discussed this.
Yeah.
And they were doing the same exact thing.
And they got Bill.
They were doing sex trafficking and promoting a product with models, and they were gay, which is okay, you know,
Right.
whatever they
Nothing
like.
wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But you never hear much about that case. It was in the Eastern District. They indicted them. I think right now what I read last is one of the guys said he had a mental breakdown. So I don't know if they're going to try him or what they're going to do with him, but they were doing the same thing that Sean got accused of, Diddy got accused of. So, but you don't hear much about them. And you know, people have come to me, well, Derrick, you know, because they're white, that's why. Yeah, that plays a part of it, but Diddy was more of a polarizing figure. He was more out there.
He's louder.
He's more visible, more bigger than these guys. But these guys were big in their own rights. They were CEOs of a company, and they were flying these guys on private jets, male models having sex with them.
Like literally sounds the same thing.
It is the same thing.
Yeah.
And you heard very little about it. You might have heard the indictment, maybe a news clipping, and that was it.
That's it.
So I was telling my friends, they were telling me about this. They were like, yo, you bring up an interesting point. And I said to people, well, I'm not going to go into this racist thing too.
Right.
Because we use that a lot.
But it definitely feels like they pick and choose.
It does. It does. And my friend called me the other day. You know what he said to me? Derrick, you know they got to make an example of Diddy. That's what this is. He should be acquitted on everything. They got to make an example of him. And basically, he does have a point. They got to make an example of him.